Hey, so in this video we're going to start to get an introduction to Java Swing, which is using graphical interfaces, which you've used before or have been present in the programs that you've used before, but we haven't really talked about them yet. So I have this program called Pixel Paint Tutorial. We're going to be building a Pixel Paint application, and I can run that application from this other project that's complete, and we're going to be building exactly what you see when it runs. So what should pop up is a basic window, and you can draw on that window. You can control different attributes of the brushes and the transparency and the color of the brush. So and we're going to be doing a pixel paint program for a couple reasons, but the main one is because we just don't want any lag, and we also want to be able to do a recursive paint bucket fill method later on that will frankly crash, because we're going to be doing a fairly simple implementation of it that involves that would make a bigger sort of non-pixel screen crash, just because it would be too memory intensive. So you can click on things to fill them with various colors. You can select a square brush tool or a circle brush tool. You can save the images that you create, and you can control the transparency of the tool with which you're drawing. So that's what we're going to be creating in this tutorial. So the first thing we want to do is create the window, the main drawing window that pops up. Now Swing is built on a couple different things. Well, let's create a package first. We'll just call this package main. Packages are just folder systems. And now we're going to create a class called paint window. And all this class of objects is going to do is have our main method, public static void main, string args, and it's just going to display a window on the screen. So we need our window. Now in Java Swing, those things are called frames, because it's just basically the outline. Even though there's content, or like it looks like there's content in the middle, we don't put anything directly in a frame. Anyway, I'll talk more about it, but these things are basically built on layers, and the outermost layer is called a J-frame. So we're going to create a private static J-frame called the window. And you don't need to understand static right now, although we will talk about it later on. It basically means that it belongs to the factory that builds these objects, not to any instance of this object itself, but we'll get into that later. So we're also going to create two public static final int variables, one called width, and we're going to set that equal to 800, public static final int height, and the naming conventions often have you writing these names in all uppercase to indicate that they are final variables, which just means you're basically naming a number. So we're saying that this is the width and height of our main window, and other classes can access it and they can know about it. So to create a window on the screen, it's actually fairly easy. We just have to set some attributes. So we're going to say the window, we're going to initialize this J-frame. The window equals new J-frame. And we're going to call it Pixel Paint. The window, now you need to tell the computer what it should do when somebody clicks the red X, because different programs do different things. Maybe clicking the red X should bring up a different part of the program, or it should bring up a message or something. So you have to specify, the red X in the upper left-hand corner. If you were using Windows computers, I can't remember, it's in the upper right-hand corner, and I don't know the color. It's just the X that closes the window usually. So you have to set some different attributes of these things. So this object, the window, we're going to set the default close operation to a constant called jframe.exitOnClose. Now some of this stuff you just have to learn and remember. This is an incredibly common line of code that you'll see in many, many programs. So it's not like this is magic. It's not like there's an endless list of these things that you use. In fact, there's a fairly limited set of these things that you use to create windows and to do the basic operations with them. And so you'll get very familiar with that as you create more Java Swing applications. We're also going to set the size of our window. So the window.setSize and we're going to use the variables, or the final variables that we created, width, height. So that sets our window to a size of 800 by 700. Now, we're also going to do something called the window.setLocation relative to null. And this is a way to set it in the center of the screen. And I'm not exactly sure how this works, but you have to give it a size, and then after you set the size of the object, if you set it its location relative to null, it'll put it in the center of whatever screen the application starts on. And then finally, the last thing we have to do is just say the window dot, we're going to set resizable. So we don't want people to be able to change the size of our drawing window because our program just doesn't need to do that right now. So we're going to set resizable to false. That means nobody can change the size of the window by dragging on its edges. And then finally, we're just going to set the visibility, set visible, to true. Because you can imagine a situation in which you want to have a window object that's simply not viewable to the user of your program at any given time. So sometimes you'll want to set this to false. But our fairly simple swing applications, we just have this one main window, and it's always going to be visible until someone exits our program. And so if we run this program, you'll see that a frame pops up. It's called Pixel Paint. Doesn't have anything in it yet, but that's going to change very soon, and that's enough for this tutorial.